Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to look at using the distributive property to combine like terms and simplify expressions with rational numbers. Okay, so remember an expression is in simplest form when there are no like terms and no parentheses. To simplify an algebraic expression, use properties to combine like terms. So here are your steps. When you simplify an expression, you can use the following steps. First step, apply the distributive property to remove parentheses. Simplify each term by multiplying them out. And third step, combine like terms. Okay, so write each expression in simplest form. -3 6/10 minus 1 9/10 t plus 1 2/10 plus 5 1/10 t. So I'm going to start by circling that first term, -3 6/10. That is a constant because there are no variables with it. I just want to circle it a little better. Okay, so -3 6/10. That's a constant. So I'm looking through my other terms and there is another constant. There is plus 1 2/10. So I'm also going to circle that in blue. So these two are like terms, so I can combine them together. So using my calculator, -3 6/10 plus 1 2/10 is -2 4/10. Now I go back to my original expression and I start over again with the next term that I don't have circled. So my next term is -1 9/10 t. So I'm looking for other like terms with just the variable part of t. And there is one. There is plus 5 1/10 t. So those are also like terms that I can combine together. So I'm using my calculator to combine together the coefficients. -1 9/10 plus 5 1/10 gives me positive 3 2/10, which I'm going to write as plus 3 2/10 t. And that is my simplified expression. So remember, when you're looking at the terms, include the sign in front of the term. A minus sign means the same thing as a negative sign, and a plus sign means the same thing as a positive sign. Okay. -3 1/4 times the quantity, -2 5/10 n, minus 1/3 y squared, minus the quantity 2y squared plus n. So there's a lot going on. One thing that I'm noticing is I have fractions and decimals in the same problem. So I'm going to convert the decimal into a mixed number. I also see that I have a minus sign with nothing after it, so I have to remember that really means I have a -1 in front of that second set of parentheses. So I'm going to write it in so I can see it. All right, so I have -3 1/4 times -2 1/2 n minus 1/3 y squared minus 1 times 2y squared plus n. Okay, so I have two distributing to do. In the first set of parentheses, I'm distributing the -3 1/4. So I have -3 1/4 times -2 1/2 n minus 3 1/4 times -1/3 y squared minus 1 times 2y squared minus 1 times n. So that's my distributing part. Now my next step is to multiply out each term, and I'm going to use the calculator to help me with that. So -3 1/4 times -2 1/2 gives me 8 1/8. So my first term is 8 1/8 n. -3 1/4 times -1/3 gives me 1 1/12. So plus 1 1/12 y squared. -1 times 2y squared is minus 2y squared. And negative 1 times n gives me minus 1n. I'm going to keep the 1 there so I can remember to see it. Now I have everything distributed. I have everything multiplied out. My next step is to look for like terms. So I start with my first term, 8 1/8. That is a like term with minus 1n. So when I combine those together, 8 1/8 minus 1 gives me 7 1/8 n. Now I look for my next set of like terms. I have plus 1 1/12 y squared minus 2y squared. I'm using my calculator. I'm doing 1 1/12 minus 2 gives me negative 11/12, which I'm going to write as minus 11/12 y squared. That is my simplified expression. Okay, another example. 8 minus 1 2/10 times the quantity, 6 minus 2y, plus 4 times the quantity, 7x plus 1 3/10 y. So I have some distributing to do. In the first set of parentheses, I'm distributing the negative 1 2/10 through. In the second set of parentheses, I'm distributing the positive 4 through. Okay, so I get 8 minus 1 2/10 times 6 minus 1 2/10 times negative 2y. Be very careful of the negative sign there. Plus 4 times 7x plus 4 times 1 3/10 y. Okay, that's my distributing. Now I have to multiply out each term. First term is 8 minus 1 2/10 times 6 is 7 2/10. You write it a little neater. Negative 1 2/10 times negative 2y gives me plus or positive 2 4/10 y. Positive 4 times 7x gives me positive or plus 28x. And positive 4 times 1 3/10 y gives me plus 5 2/10 y. So I multiplied it out. My next step now is to look for like terms. Start with my first term. It's a constant, 8. I can put with minus 7 2/10. And those are my only constants. So when I combine those together, 8 minus 7 2/10 gives me 8/10. Looking for my next set of like terms. I have positive 2 4/10 y plus 5 2/10 y. Combining those coefficients together, I get positive 7 6/10 y. So plus and then the only other term I have hanging around still is plus 28x. So plus 28x. And that is my simplified expression. It is a trinomial. Our last example. 5 times the quantity, 2 1/10 w minus 2/3, minus 2/7 times the quantity, 4 6/10 r, minus 3 1/5 w. So again, I see decimals and fractions in the same problem. So my first thing is I'm going to convert those decimals into mixed numbers. So when I do that, I get 5 times 2 1/10 w minus 2/3 minus 2/7 times 4 6/10, which reduces down to 3/5 r plus 3 1/5 w. Okay, now I have to start my distributing. In the first set of parentheses, I distribute the 5 through. So it's 5 times 2 1/10 w minus 5 times 2/3. In the second set of parentheses, I'm distributing the negative 2/7 through. So minus 2/7 times 4 3/5 R minus 2/7 times 3 1/5 W. Okay, after I distribute, now I use my calculator to help me multiply out each term. So 5 times 2 1 10 becomes 10 1/2 W. 5 times 2/3 is 3 1/3, so minus 3 1/3. Negative 2/7 times 4 3/5 gives me minus 1 11/35. And that's with R. And then negative 2/7 times 3 1/5 gives me minus 32/35. And that's with a W. Now I'm ready to look for my like terms. So starting with my first term, I have 10 1/2 W. That is a like term with minus 32/35 W. So using my calculator to combine those together, 10 1/2 minus 32/35 gives me 9 41/70 W. Looking at my next term, I have minus 3 1/3. That cannot be combined with anything, so that stays. Then looking at my next term, I have minus 1 11/35 R. And that's my simplified expression. I hope this video helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.